Okay, I guess we'll go ahead and get started. It's still morning. Good morning. Welcome. Thank you for being here and helping us. For those of you that don't know me, I'm John Froussard, Superintendent of Schools. Here today is the primary presenter is Steve Halsey of Corrigan out of Dallas. We also have Gary Baker of Gary Baker & Associates in Wichita Falls. Our purpose in being here is to get your input on the design of a proposed new career and technical education facility for students at WFISD. As you know, we had a failed bond last May that primarily addressed high schools in a new CTE facility. It failed by about a 3-to-1 margin. Recently I heard that a British pastor once said every leader has to have the mind of a scholar, the heart of a child, and the height of a rhinoceros. I don't know about the scholar part applying to me, but you can just call me Rhino for the rest of the morning. The one bond component we heard a lot of support for last time was the proposed CTE center. And the board and I are going to try again a year later because of the needs of our students and our community. This bond, in most likelihood, will be smaller than last year's $125 million bond, probably half or less. And remember, we recently reduced taxes by the equivalent of bond payments supporting about $43 million. This bond, we're trying to design something for maximum impact, maximum academic and career impact on our students, maximum economic impact for our community. You're going to hear more in a moment about House Bill 5 and some of the reasons why this facility is critical to the future success of our students. You may be wondering about site location. The site location is a board responsibility, but it will be finalized for this bond and made public prior to calling a bond election for either May or November. And as most of you know, public discussions about land tend to drive up the cost of potential sites. I will tell you that the board is quietly investigating, with the help of the architects, multiple sites. They're looking at location, infrastructure costs, soil site improvements, the whole gamut. And they'll have to make a decision based on all those factors at some point. But again, the board will pick a site, option the site, and make that public before the bond is called. Our curriculum staff members have been working with the Chamber and Mike Paris on the Chamber and the Texas Workforce Commission and other experts to determine the programs that this facility could house that would lead to industry certifications, apprenticeships, future enrollment in community college or college, and ultimately good jobs in North Texas and Texas and Southern Oklahoma. You'll have a chance to suggest additional programs for us to consider and research. But we'll spend most of our time this morning and early this afternoon getting your input on design aesthetics, what you really like or don't like and why. Your input's going to be combined with the input from the other sessions and ultimately a community online survey. We're going to go through 6 sessions like this and accumulate the information, and we're going to convert it to an online survey. What I'd like you to do is make sure you sign the sign-in sheet today in case we need to contact you again, but also tell your friends about it, because eventually we'll have something very similar. We're recording the opening remarks and the opening presentation so that the public will have the background on this, and then they'll be able to complete the online survey with more information. Once again, I appreciate you being here to help us. All of your input is being recorded and it's being accumulated. We're not showing it, we don't want to influence you, but Steve will be looking at how you rate certain facilities, and he may stop and ask you why you do like something or you don't like something, but all this information is going to be incorporated into the initial building design and cost estimates that are given to the board for their consideration. Again, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. Without further delay, I'll turn it over to Steve.
As Dr. Prasad said, I'm the architect with Corrigan out of Dallas and Gary Baker's architect here in Wichita Falls, and we're the team that's working on the CTE design development for a potential bond program. Brett's another person in my office, and he's over here for Saturday. So we talked about the district snapshot. What we're here to do this morning is that we're just going to give you a broad overview of CTE and what's being thought about for a potential bond program. And then we're going to gather your input for aesthetics of the building. Because this building, the CTE Center, is not mine, it's not Gary's, it's the community's and it's yours. And you live here and you represent your community. So we want to design a facility that reflects Wichita Falls ISD. So there's going to be a whole line of images in here. We're just going to get, it's more of a, I like that picture kind of process. And we'll get more into it as I get into that second half of the presentation. So as a basis, or as a beginning, and this is, everybody should know this, but school facilities are definitely a reflection of your community, a reflection of who you are, and a reflection of the students that go there. So you want the schools to be reflecting Wichita Falls, your district, and your students. Lots of studies have been done to show that the environment that the students go to school in has a great deal to do with their educational success. It is a proven fact that just like when you go to work and you like where you work and your office is comfortable and it's a neat place to go, students are the same way. The environment affects how they act, and that's why we want to make sure that when we design this CTE facility that it reflects you, and it's going to reflect how students act, react, and work with each other. Another thing that is going on in public education right now, which is predominant, is the collaborative workspace, or collaborative teaching. And just for a background on what that is that they're pushing a lot in the education market where students are working as teams and as groups and working together to learn, and the educators are becoming more of the facilitator. And it's going to what you would call a workplace environment. In your workplace, you work together as a team, work on projects, you work on your tasks as a team, in the most part. Students are doing that same thing, learning how to interact with each other, learning how to work with each other, and in the same time, learning how to be adults and how to work in a workplace environment. So that's how the schools want to reflect that and give the opportunities for the students to be able to have those places instead of four walls and a ceiling and there's a chalkboard on the wall and everybody's lined up. The desks, the furniture, and the environment itself is all changing to allow for this interaction between the students and themselves in big groups as well as small groups, one-on-ones. So I'm going to give a brief overview of another piece that's being looked at as part of this bond program. We're not the architects on it. I'm just giving you an outline of it. There's another architecture firm that's working on this, but the other piece is junior high schools. So what they're looking at is at Barwise and McNeil Junior High Schools is expanding those junior high schools, 400 students, so that all of 6th grade can be brought to a true middle school concept. And this is aligning with all of the curriculum in the direction of the district as well, because the middle school concept is going to do two things. Number one, it's going to take 6th graders out of the elementary schools, which is going to allow for extra capacity in the elementary schools that is needed for growth of students. And then aligning all of the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders in a true middle school concept is also preparing the students for the high school. So what it's doing, especially related to House Bill 5 that was passed by the state legislature, is that this is the middle school level is becoming the preparatory level, and I'll get more into this in a second, but preparing the students for high schools. And with House Bill 5 and the endorsements that the students sign up for as freshmen, that's really getting to be there on the job training now all through high school. So in the middle school concept, the students are being prepared for that next level, if that makes sense. What the architects are doing at these schools as well is that they're not only looking at the additions to the schools, but also looking at other needs, because when you have more kids, there's cafeteria space, locker room space, there's other roads, infrastructure, other things they're looking at. So it's just not here we're going to plug in a classroom wing and call it good. So they're looking at that. If you have any specific questions related to that, that's about the extent of my knowledge. Dr. Broussard could have some, but that's another piece that's being looked at. So I'm going to go for a second into career education. As I said, the legislature passed House Bill 5. House Bill 5 basically set up these 5 endorsements that all students in Texas will go through. It's on-the-job training for students. These endorsements, there's 5 different ones that I'll explain in a minute, that they are going to go through this process to learn, to become college ready, to become workforce ready, to become ready for the real world, more to prepare them better for their future. In these endorsements or the law, current 9th graders across the state and Wichita Falls ISD are in this. They're in this system right now. Their 9th graders in your district now are in the system, and there's some of the strands that the district isn't able to complete all of the education and training they need in some of the strands, and that's the reason for this CTE Center, is to fulfill that. What the basic concept of the CTE Center is that 9th and 10th graders, for the most part, will pick an endorsement, and they will do, just like in college, they'll do their base education at their main campus. Their English, their maths, their histories, their social studies, their preparatory classes for if they're going to go down an engineering strand or down a culinary arts strand. They're doing all of that at the main campus. Then, for the most part, 11th and 12th graders will go to this proposed CTE Center to do the specialized training, where all the specialized facilities will be, where there'll be a culinary arts lab. So they'll go, and they're either in the morning or an afternoon session and stay there for half a day. Once again, it's another step preparing them for the next level, but it's also another step of being, this is more like a college level course. You know, you've got labs that are 3 hours long, and that's how they're learning their process. It's been a long time coming. As you see here, the Perot Commission was started in 1984 and started pushing this to move forward, because, as you see right here, there's 60% of the students that don't go to college that we need to take care of, and there's 40% that do go to college that we need to take care of, and both of them will be taken care of with the CTE Center and the endorsements that it has. All 3,800 students in Wichita Falls ISD and high school will have the opportunity to utilize this facility. It's not for one high school, it's for the whole entire district. It's going to serve all 3 high schools. So that's a point that's very important. And then we're looking at, as we're going through this, we're going to have partnerships, and we're going to have input from you, the chamber members, and community colleges, and industry in the city of Wichita Falls, because what you want to do here is that you have strands that are across the board, culinary arts across the board, but then you also have strands that are going to be based on local needs. So you may have a local industry here, which I don't know yet, where you need to train aviation mechanics. And there's a need there. They don't have enough aviation mechanics trained in here to supply the need. So the district's going to work in partnerships with that company, find out what that need is, train the students to fulfill that need for your local needs here in the city, basically creating a workforce for your local businesses. Partnerships that we've done in other facilities that we've done, from Tyler all the way to the Metroplex, have worked this out as well, and it works great, because you know what you need, you know what workforce you need, you know what technical needs you need here. We're training the kids to fill those jobs and stay in the city and work here and have careers here, instead of training them to go somewhere else. So, what is career education? So you can see these pictures. This is what a lot of people think career education is, and that's what it was. Auto mechanics and ag and wood shop and metal shop. When I graduated high school, that's what it was. We went out to shop and we learned how to weld and we learned how to cut wood and we learned how to raise our steer. And we were basically, being trained to be farmers or to go weld or go work in a profession, in a trade. And it was really, that's all it was focused on back then. Well, CTE today is still that. It's still all of those functions and more. As you can see here, here's just some examples. Computer tech, a fire academy to train firemen, It is giving students the real-world training for their profession and basically giving them the opportunity in high school, instead of waiting until they go to college and then they decide, I want to be a mechanical engineer. They go to college and they go to school for 5 years, 4 years, they come out, they graduate being a mechanical engineer, they've seen nothing of the real world, they go out and they start work, and after 6 months they go, this is boring, why did I pick this? Have to change. Or they get halfway through college and say, I didn't really know what this meant, I'm going to switch directions in the middle. And some students will still do that, that's fine, but this early exploration process that House Bill 5, the endorsements, and a CTE center lets them train in high school, so they can go through that process in real-world environments and understand, I want to be a cosmetologist, well, here's what that's going to mean. They can change their mind in high school, or they can graduate from high school, they have their certification, they go straight into a job, they understand what that job's going to be, and the process is accelerated for them to become parts of the community and work in their chosen profession. So here's just some data that we collected. North Texas Workforce Commission occupations with the highest percentage growth until 2020. So as you can see, it's the gamut of professions. Computer and math, which is gaming systems, 3D graphics, being a math major, engineering, architecture, energy. Energy comes from the whole range of either being a finance major to work on, if they get so much more oil out of the well and how much that's going to be and when they need to sell it, all the way to being the pipe fitter out in the field. All of that, and then community and social service, being a firefighter, education and training, a teacher, healthcare practitioners, technical and healthcare support, LVN, a doctor, being the data entry person now that all the healthcare things are online, that's a specialization as well. Protective services, that gets into CSI, that gets into law, that gets into being a paralegal, that gets into being a lawyer. And then personal care and service is cosmetology. And here's the occupations that are going to be adding the most jobs up until 2020. And as you can see, food preparation and handling, that's that's culinary arts. Personal care aides, nurses, salesperson, elementary teachers, et cetera, et cetera. So going into House Bill 5. So these are the endorsements that House Bill 5 identifies, that the students can get. There's 5 of the endorsements. As I said, as freshmen, the students will sign up for one of these endorsements. In their high school career, as long as I don't change it, we'll be guided for all years to go through these endorsements. So the first one you see there is STEM. STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So all of the functions that feed up into STEM are like architecture, construction, auto collision and repair, welding, oil and gas, ag mechanics, computer maintenance. Arts and humanities, audio and video production, running a TV studio, or running a radio studio, or being theater arts major. The graphic arts, animation, culinary arts. So doing 3D graphics, or doing 3D movies, or working as a chef in a kitchen. Public service. Public service runs, as we talked before, legal, cosmetology, CSI, pre-medical, pharmacy tech, business and industry, being a business major, being a finance major, being a marketing major, public relations, all of those pieces of arts. And then multidisciplinary, which are advanced courses, AP, IB, which you have now, dual credit classes. So that would be going through, basically, some of this path would be getting college credits as you're going to high school, which in some places, some districts, we have students who do that, and they basically come out of high school with not only a high school degree, but with an associate's degree, or really close to it as they're graduating high school. So all of those programs roll together to what is House Bill 5 and what is housed in the CTE Center, or what could be housed in the CTE Center. And as I said before, potential career paths. And these are all just a sampling of the potential career paths that students could have in Wichita Falls ISD. Some of them you have, some of them you don't have yet. Some of them, there may be programs that are developed with collaboration and talking to all of you, talking to the community about what's needed here and what we need to make sure that we have certifications for or training for in this CTE facility. So, this is a bridge to the college and career. So number one, for those 40% of the students that are going to college, they get advanced coursework in the high school level. They know what path they're going to go down. They're training to go to college to become a lawyer or a doctor or an engineer or whatever. This is their first step in that process. That's part of what's in the education here at this facility. And then work sources development. Students are trained here to go work in the oil and gas industry. They're trained in here to go cosmetology. They're trained here to be auto mechanics. So that when they graduate high school, they have their certification, or they have their certificate, or they have their training in place where they immediately go into the workforce at a certified level. They've already taken care of working in the real world environment, doing all the training. So it's also, instead of starting out at $15 an hour as an intern, they're starting at mid-level as soon as they graduate high school. It's accelerating the whole process. That's all part of what this is. So before I go any further, does anybody have any questions? And does anybody in the room have any I know I went through real quick and just highlighted some of the examples of programs and occupations and pieces and parts that the students could be trained in. Any big things that we missed that we need to investigate, or people that we need to talk to? I know Dr. Prasad knows everybody and he's been inviting, but anything that you see that we know for sure that we need to make sure to include or talk to or invite to the process as we're developing this facility? Okay, that's fine. If you do, let Dr. Prasad know, please. So, we get into career pathways, and this is just some of the images of the career pathways I talked about, and this is pictures of students in the spaces or the spaces that they would have in a typical CTE facility. So you see cosmetology. Cosmetology looks like a regular salon anywhere that you go, anywhere. It's set up exactly the same as the real world. Computer-aided drafting. Students would go in, they'd sit in a cubicle just like they would in the workforce and learn how to not only learn their craft, but the great part about this CTE facility is that they learn how to work in a workplace environment. They learn what they're going to be doing for their career in the real space so that they're able to investigate, well, I don't think I'm going to like sitting at a desk in front of a computer. I'm going to change right now. And they do that while they're high school students. Instead of getting into a career and then saying 3 years later, oh, I need to change. And they've already started their life and then married and got a kid. Makes it simpler. Culinary arts. It's a full functioning kitchen. What this facility could have as well is also it could have a bistro in there or a little cafe that serves the public, where the students learn not only how to cook the food, prepare the food, but they also learn how to serve the public, learn how to run a restaurant, learn how to run a business, learn how to deal with the public. All of that is all part of the training that they get at this facility. Automotive. Automotive is the same way. You come in there, you set up, you have a reception desk, somebody drives up, says I need to have an oil change or you need to fix this dent in my fender. They get checked in, drive their car in, the students work on it, they get it back. It's just like a business. But what this is that this isn't what you would think of as a typical shop where you have a big shop and then there's cars around the back and there's equipment and all that. Everything's inside of this facility because they don't keep all that, or not intended to keep all the spare parts and things in there. They're all going to be inside the facility because this is going to be part of the whole campus that they have of the CTE functions. Engineering. That's the STEM functions of working in an engineering lab, learning how to work on, get their Cisco certification, how to work on computers, how to be an engineer, doing a robotics lab. And then healthcare. Healthcare, they have real patient rooms set up. They have real clinic rooms set up in there where the students can go in and learn and work in actual real-world environments of how a nurse's station works and what you do when you go to a patient to take their blood pressure or whatever you're going to do. And also you can work out as part of this process where the students will go in local partnership with local fire department or police department and go on runs. Where they can, as part of their internship is that they go and ride the ambulance with the fire department, and go on real runs and go and watch the process as it's working. They also can go to the hospital and do rotations where they follow around nurses or doctors and they see what a pediatric nurse does all day long, or what the surgery nurse does, or what a doctor does in surgery, et cetera, seeing that real world action every day. Graphic arts, that is the 3D graphics, marketing, public relations, all of that. Advertising. And then this is just some examples. I just want to show you some images of other CTE centers around, mainly in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and what they look like and kind of what the image of those other facilities are. So this is one in the Eagle Mountain Saginaw. That's the main entry to it. That's their main lobby. As you can see, it's an open, collaborative space where students can pull chairs together. It's very bright. And then you look at all the different kinds of spaces that are in there. There's an automotive lab. This is basically they call it their large lecture room, where it's stairs, but it also can be where students get together and they have a whole grade level presentation or something to that effect. Cosmetology lab, the culinary kitchen, and then the other spaces. Birdville ISD has a different look. Same kind of deal here. This is kind of their main entry, but one of the things I didn't talk about before that would be in this facility as well is the counseling center. And all these facilities have a counseling center, which is basically like you had in college. You go to your counselor and sign up for your next semester. They're the same way. You go in there and you talk to your counselor, you talk about what your career field wants to be. They help you guide your path through the 4 years of high school. They also, once you get to be a junior or senior, they help you sign up for college, or they help you look for a job, or they help you, here's where you need to go apply for this job, or here's who looking for that craft. It's basically the employment center and the counseling center both wrapped into one. And here's some images of what their facility is. Theirs is set up a lot different. It's more like kind of a very clean warehouse type facility, exposed ceilings and lots of super graphics. This is the culinary kitchen, culinary arts facility that Fort Worth ISD just built, just opened this year. It serves their whole district. And this is a large facility, and what this does is not only is it the training center for the culinary arts, but they're also using it as whenever they have a function or a board meeting or a presentation or wherever they can, the students are being signed up by the district, all across the district, to come cater functions across the district. So the students get the benefit of learning how to cook the food, how to prepare it, how to set up and cater, how to take it to a function, set it up, serve, take down, all just being run just like a regular business. Grand Prairie ISD is a different one, different kind of function. So this district wanted it to be a full day. This is where the kids go to high school. This is their third high school. They go there, they sign up, they stay there the whole time. They wanted it to be very much like an office building look. So the students, unless they go to, if they want to do athletics or band or some other extracurricular, they go back to the home campus. But if they don't, they stay in this building all day long to get their PE. There's a workout facility in there, so the students would go for an hour and ride on the treadmill or lift weights in a workout facility. There's a cafeteria in there, so this is their full day, full campus, all 4 years. It's a different model. It's one of the few that I know that's set up this way in the area. And as you can see on the inside of that, it was set up to be an office building. Students go up, they come in, there's no bells, they're dressed to go to work, they go in, they go to the 4th floor, go to the west wing, they go into their office, and it's like they're working. And that's one of the collaborative spaces that's built throughout this facility. And then this is the new one in Tyler that's going to open next year, and it's the same kind of deal, the concept that you're considering here, is that this is one central facility that serves both high schools. So both high schools feed into this. Students come here, morning block, afternoon block, and get their specialized training at this facility. And what this district did and knew is that, you know, they had some over here and some over here, and they had half of one over here and half of one over here. They were able to combine it together and get bigger and better in one location instead of pieces and parts. Also, what this district did is that this building, it doesn't show, but across the street from it, and they built it there specifically, is Tyler Junior College. And in Tyler Junior College, they worked together. They had certain paths, like they had automotive collision at Tyler Junior College, but they didn't have automotive mechanics. So they worked together that if a student wants to do mechanics from Tyler Junior College or from Tyler ISD, they go to one facility. If they want to do mechanics, they go to the other. So they combine the resources, able to expand the offerings to the kids, and work together and make that happen. And they're just across the street, so it works out really well. And that's just the other part of it. And this is their Bistro Cafe. As I talked about, the Bistro is in lots of these facilities. It's a place where it's just a little cafe, a coffee bar. Culinary students can run it. The public can come in. You can drive by and say, hey, I want to go over to the CTE Bistro, go in there, have a sandwich, have a cup of coffee, sit down, just like a regular little restaurant that the students are running in the facility. And then the last piece I had to talk about was, as Dr. Prasad touched on, the site location. So we are working through that process right now with the board. And what we're doing, as it says here, is that we're looking at doing an analysis, giving the board the information so they can decide what's best for the entire district. In each one of the options we're looking at, going through with them, we're looking at soil condition, we're looking at the site availability, whether it's not for sale, floodplain, utilities, access, grade, topography, adjacencies, everything. We're putting it on a big master chart for them to be able to compare options to each other. We're looking at new sites, we're looking at existing sites, all of the above. So it's all being put up on the wall so that the board can figure out what's the best option for the school district. And as Dr. Prasad said, when they make the selection, we'll make that public so everybody knows this is where it's intended to go. So this is just the outline of the process that we're going through. We're going through these workshops. We're going to get information back. We're going to present it to the board, present some information to the board in February, and then in February they can decide if they want to call a bond for February, if they want to call a bond for November, or if they don't want to call a bond. That'll be up to the board in February, and we'll go from there. If they want to call one for May of this year, then they'll have to call it by February 27th, and other than that, that's the dream. But what I'm going to do, and what we're doing with this information, is we're collecting the data, and we're tracking you live on here. And what we're going to do is take the data from the voting of all the 6 groups that we talked to get a general impression of what y'all, as WFISD, people that live here, community representatives, want this facility to look like. And this is the aesthetics of the building. As I said, we don't live here, and we want to design it to what you want it to be, how you want it to reflect your community and what you want. And then we'll take that information, we'll roll it in with the programming that we're working with Dr. Prasad and his team on, and then to create a facility that is the size of the need as well as the look of what WFISD wants. Now there's a random bunch of pictures in here, and they're not all schools and they're not all CTE centers. What you need to vote on is that I like it looks really good, it will reflect what a CTE center, I don't like it, or if it's an office building, that's a good place where I think we should have something like that in this facility because I like the colors, or it's open, or there's lots of windows, or it's nice and clean, things like that. As we get through the discussion, you'll be able to tell kind of the direction we're going. There's some pictures in here, images that we'll go through that don't have anything to do with anything other than just getting a general impression of the community. You'll see when we get to some of those pictures, you go, oh, that's pretty cool, or why are we looking at this? There's some of those in there. I just wanted to get the broad range. So with that, we'll go ahead and start.